Are you a Christian by any chance?
Very, very much so.
Like, why is that exactly?
Jesus saved my life. I'm a sinner, gave my life to Christ, most important decision I ever made.
So you believe the Bible is real?
Yes, I believe the Bible is true and real. Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I could give you the technical answer. There's never been an archaeological discovery that has contradicted the truth of the Bible. And then, of course, the wisdom. There's not a truth of the Bible that if you apply to your life does not improve dramatically. And then finally, we have the most accurate and transparent, historically robust account that one can have of the most important figure ever to live in the history of the world, Jesus of Nazareth. And the resurrection is the pinpoint of my belief that Jesus did rise from the grave so that we may live.
What makes Christian mythology real?
So that's not mythology, but that is theology. If Genesis 1:1 and the resurrection is true, anything in the Bible is possible. You're looking at the greatest miracle. The greatest miracle is creation. And then the fact that Jesus rose from the dead. And I say, how do you know that Jesus rose from the dead? Well, show me another historical piece of a story where so many people willingly died a brutal death for a lie. Every single person around him had everything to lose, and yet they went to the absolute death, from Paul to Peter to the half-brother of James, saying that Jesus is Lord, Jesus rose from the dead. Not to mention, if you were going to fake a story, you would not use female witnesses in the ancient world. In the scriptures, it said that the women were the first one to see Jesus Christ. If you're trying to fake a story, you would never do that. Not to mention the 500 people that saw Jesus after he rose from the dead, and then the later church that lived under persecution under the belief that Jesus Christ was the Son of God. Okay, everybody, you've probably heard the situation that happened in North Carolina. Say the name Irina Zarutska. Irina Zarutska was just riding public transit. By the way, she was a refugee from Ukraine, of all places. And she came to Charlotte, North Carolina. And a terrible person, well, you saw what happened. I can't describe it here on TikTok without some sort of community guideline being violated. But if you haven't seen the video, you absolutely should. This individual should not have been on the streets, 14 prior arrests. And it really makes you wonder, why are we putting up with this? Why are we allowing so many people that have committed these crimes to keep on being released? The magistrate judge continued to release this individual, and this is a horrific thing. You know, it's really interesting. The media was totally covering George Floyd, tens of thousands of articles, reconfigured and changed the entire American body politic. And when it came to Irina Zarutska, the entire media was quiet, silent. In fact, we forced them to cover the story. Why do you think that is? What was the difference between George Floyd and Irina Zarutska? Why did the left care so much about George Floyd and they couldn't care less about Irina Zarutska? What could the difference be? I wonder. Would love for you guys to leave some comments. If I may say so, continental Europe is a husk of its former self. How did that happen? World War II, the West won, right? And now we look in 2025, Europe is an unrecognizable continent in more ways than one.
Before that, there was a sense of, what are we for? We know what we're for. We're for freedom, and this is something that is pretty uncomplicated. It stitches together as a kind of, as the West. There's a fascinating moment in 2004 when the European Union is trying to work out a constitution. In the end, it fails because it can't agree on anything, really. And there's a huge debate about what goes in the preamble of the constitution. We, the European Union, who are we? What makes us we? What makes us we? They said, well, our Hellenic inheritance, ancient Rome, classical inheritance, yes. The Enlightenment inheritance as well. No mention of the Hebraic or the Christian inheritance. No, not any recognition of the fact that the European Union is in any way at all the successor to what it really was a successor to, namely Christendom and the Holy Roman Empire, and that which stitched Europe together as a sort of self-conscious collective entity. That was gone. It was an indicator, an index into the way in which Europeans were beginning to run out of a sense of who are we?